Josh Allen is one of the National Football League's premier passers. He's consistently in the running for MVP, and is typically only held back by his inclination to put the ball in harm's way. That said, he more than makes up for these mistakes with the insane throws that he makes on a week-in and week-out basis, and he solidified himself as a top 3 quarterback in football. But those who follow the sport remember a time when this wasn't the case. In fact, in his rookie season, Josh Allen was one of the most pathetic quarterbacks in the league. In 12 games, he threw only 10 touchdowns and 12 interceptions, and 22 turnover-worthy passes according to PFF. One of the worst examples of this was when the Bills played in Green Bay in Week 4 and Allen had 150 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 picks, and a 48 completion percentage. It's hard to watch games like these and even comprehend that this is the same player, so let's take a look back at the moment when Josh Allen became the guy we know now. Of course, it's always deeper than just one moment. It was a gradual improvement for Josh Allen, and we saw this as he went from bad to average over the course of his sophomore season. By the end of 2019, he had thrown 20 touchdowns and only 9 interceptions. Despite the stats looking much better, he had been a lot more fortunate in this season, having more turnover-worthy plays on the season but ending up with less interceptions. He still had his struggles, particularly in the passing yards and completion percentage areas, where he barely reached 3,000 yards and a 58% completion rate. Despite the improvement, it was clear that Josh still wasn't a great quarterback. He needed to get better over the offseason if he wanted to solidify himself as the long-term quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, and that much he did. In the 2020 offseason, the Bills made a big trade for former Vikings wide receiver Stefon Diggs. Diggs, famous for the Minneapolis Miracle, had always been regarded as a very good receiver but never quite top 3 or 5. That said, Allen had never had a receiver as good as Diggs, and his presence was immediately felt. Josh instantly looked better in Week 1 of 2020. Straight out of the gate, he put up 300 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Jets. This was Josh's first ever 300-yard passing game in the NFL, and it coming so soon in the season, with Diggs having 86 of those yards helped out a ton. This duo now looked like it had potential, and the next week would be the game that put Josh Allen on the map. The Buffalo Bills traveled to Miami to play the Dolphins. Miami was coming off a successful tank for Tua campaign in 2019, finishing 5-11. Despite their poor record, under head coach Brian Flores, they were a scrappy bunch, especially on defense, and would eventually win 10 games in 2020. But that defense would meet its match on this sunny September day. Josh Allen exploded. He was unstoppable all day. He threw chunk pass after chunk pass after chunk pass. On top of this newly found efficiency, he also broke out in the big play game. He made 40-plus yard throws look effortless and easy. This was completely jarring. Everyone knew that Josh had all the tools he needed, but it's rare for a quarterback like Josh to actually put them all together out of nowhere. He hadn't just improved significantly in decision making, that would be one thing, but he also became extraordinarily accurate out of nowhere. It's somewhat common for quarterbacks to get smarter and take better care of the football as they become savvy veterans, but it's very, very rare for them to become deadly accurate seemingly overnight. And that's what Josh had done. It started out with a slight miss to Diggs, but everything after this was domination. 15 yards, 15 yards, 15 yards on the ground. It was easy. Deep ball dropped in the bucket to Cole Beasley like it was nothing. Cap it off with a 1-yard touchdown pass, and that's when CBS decided to lose power. Clearly they weren't ready for the world to see Allen unleashed. With the power down, Allen threw a 22-yard touchdown to Stefon Diggs. When the power returned, Allen instantly threaded the needle to Diggs. Fast forward a few drives and the Bills found themselves trailing in the fourth quarter. Josh clearly wasn't having it, and on the first play without the lead, he chucked it deep to Diggs. A couple plays later, they picked up 23 on 2nd and 24, and after this, Josh pulled off an example of what is now his signature move, scrambling in the red zone and finding the open man for the go-ahead touchdown. But Allen didn't stop there. The next drive, he hit a 30-yard throw running to his right into a tight window, and after this, with a defender in his face on 3rd and long, he chucked the ball 50 air yards to John Brown for the dagger touchdown. If it didn't know before, the league now knew. Josh Allen was a problem, and it would take a ton to slow him down in this form. That was made clear to the Rams the following week, who again allowed Josh to go for 4 touchdowns and 300-plus yards. Then the next week he made big throws again, and the next week, and the next week, and the next one. This trend continued all the way up until the playoffs started. Allen struggled against the tough defenses of Baltimore and Kansas City, and the team ended up losing in the conference championship game. But this playoff performance didn't discount Josh's explosion during the regular season whatsoever. He established an ability to be great that has not left since that day in Miami. The only questions that remain for Allen and the Bills is whether or not they can get over the final hump. The team has dominated in practically every regular season, aside from the start of 2023, since Allen broke out. Despite this, they've only made one conference championship game in the same time frame, being the one that they comfortably lost to the Chiefs in 2020. Bills fans are still hungry for that first Super Bowl championship, and it seems like they might just finally have the guy to do it. All they need is a few playoff games to fall their way, and the streets of Buffalo will be celebrating a championship. Thanks for watching, everyone.